to episode number 1 of Sunday Money, brought to you by Vulture's Row. Same guys on the podcast here, but we are introducing a brand new show here on Badlands. So thank you again to Joe Cap, all the Badlands guys. They don't even know that we're doing this, so this is going to be an awesome episode. Just kind of break down what Sunday Money is essentially a betting show. So we are going to be, I know it's super early in the season now. We're only in June, but we are going to debut this in September. We wanted to start off by doing some Jets futures and some over-unders, win totals, stuff like that. And we are super excited to break this thing open and start it in the regular season, but wanted to give you guys a little preview here. I'll pass it to Pat. I know you're super excited about this one as well.
I'm super excited about it. I love gambling, doing it all the time in many different forms. And this is how I put it, right? You're either going to ride with us or you're going to fade us, but one way or the other, you're going to make some money. So I'm really excited to see how this goes for us three, comparing our picks as the season goes on, who's better, who's worse, right? And the more we compile stats and bets, right, the more trends we're going to see, and we're going to see how good we're going to be at this thing. So I'm excited to kick it off tonight with some futures. And, again, these are all subject to change, obviously, because there's not a lot out there, but why not get into it early, right? I think the team is pretty set, right? We've been talking about the team for so much and we have some ideas. So why not look at what over-unders are out there, what props are out there right now, and make some predictions?
Tony, I know you have a few betting accounts as well. You gamble. What's your feeling on this Sunday Money? And you created the name, so props to you.
Yeah, it's actually Dale Earnhardt's boat, I believe. I stole that from my dad's a huge Dale Earnhardt fan, and he mentioned his boat's name was Sunday Money, and I'm like, that sounds like kind of a badass name for a gambling show. Let's use it.
So they don't sue us. That's great.
I'm super excited about this. I mean, it's going to be such an interesting, unique Jets season. New head coach, new quarterback, new offensive coordinator. There's so many different directions this could go, and for guys like us, it's just an opportunity to potentially cash out and take advantage of some weird looking lines, which I think there are a few as of right now. So really looking forward to either sucking so bad you guys fade every single bet that I say on here, or hopefully you ride me, man. I mean, it's gonna be a good time, and glad to get this thing started.
I think one thing too is yes, it's going to be mostly Jets, of course. That's our quote unquote expertise, whatever you would want to call that. Maybe we're not experts, probably not.
Expertise is a stretch.
Yeah, it's a stretch, but I think we're gonna try and look at whatever our favorites are for the week as a whole across the NFL and have fun with it. Really, that's what it's about. It's having fun with it. Got a problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Absolutely, yeah. So let's start it off here. Pat laid it out all of what we're going to go over today. So thank you, Pat, for that. We're going to start off with the Jets playoffs odds. This is per BetMGM. Jets make the playoffs is at plus 450. Jets miss the playoffs is at minus 625. Pat, where are you laying your money on this?
I'm not going to bet on them missing the playoffs, obviously, and I'm not going to bet 625 to win $100 for them to miss the playoffs, right? Would I take it at plus 450 is more of the question, right? I probably wouldn't, because I do think that they'll be, we had our schedule preview and predictions earlier in the year, when the schedule came out last month. Do I think they're going to be in the hunt at the end of the season? Yes, I do. I think it's going to be an exciting season. I have had scenarios where, there's 7, 8, 9 wins, but I just think in the AFC specifically, it's going to take 10 wins to get in. And I just can't reasonably predict them to win 10 games. Everything would just have to go right for them, which as a Jets fan, you just can't bet on everything going right for the Jets. So until it actually happens. So it's not really would you bet on them minus 625? I mean, as a Jets fan, you'd have to be one miserable bastard to do that. But, it's not the worst bet in the world if you just want, would I pay 625 to be wrong and then make the playoffs? Of course I would. But if it's are you taking it at plus 450? I think your money is better elsewhere.
Tony.
Yeah, I'm not touching this. I don't think I'm not gonna bet $650 to win $100 for them to miss the playoffs. 625 rather. And I also just don't think they're making the playoffs. Pat made a lot of great points. I mean, it's going to be tough in the AFC. The Bills are going to win the division. That's pretty much a given. if you go through a checklist as a Jets fan and you say, you do the whole like win-loss thing, every single time I do that, we end up winning 12 games inexplicably. But realistically, I mean, if you look at their, over under for wins, they're probably not making the playoffs. So I'm going to sit this one out. I don't think there's any money to be had. And I am not the miserable bastard that will be putting $625 on them to miss.
Now that I'm thinking about it a little bit,
Oh boy, there you
right?
go.
Hold on.
You might be the miserable bastard.
No, well, so like when I was in college, and I'm not going to disclose that because gambling was probably not legal, but I used to bet on the Patriots to win every week, money line, because I hated them so much that I would rather if they win, I'm going to get paid for it, and I would pay to see them lose. Right? That was my mindset. So my mindset here a little bit is like, would I pay $625 to see them make the playoffs and me be wrong? I think I would. Right? Like in the reverse psychology world. Right? So I'm not going to tell other people to do that, but like if I'm just like going against myself, and it's just one weird emotional way that you can maybe like,
hedge.
It's a hedge, right? Like
emotional hedge.
If you want to get a really sick hedge in, there could be worse hedges.
You'd have to be a sick mother effer, though.
I mean, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
I don't want to go too off topic, but in that regard, one of Tony and our friend Peter literally put $500 on the Knicks to lose against the Celtics, and they won. So it's that same exact mindset.
Yeah, that's what you have to do sometimes.
Me, I'm a low gambler. I at the plus 450, I'd throw $5 to just if they make the playoffs. Yeah, then I win whatever the hell I win. I'm not throwing $600 to miss the playoffs. I will say, would I pay $600? Probably. Like you said, if they made it, I'd probably pay a disgusting amount of money.
If you ask any Jets fan, again, reasonably speaking, right? Would you pay $625 right now for the Jets to make the playoffs? I guarantee you, most Jets fans that could afford it would just be like, "Fuck yeah."
That's a different question though, because if they don't,
I know that. I'm just saying. But then if they don't, you win. You win $100.
So keeping this
something to think about. But anyway, keep going.
We went a little bit off track there, but it's all right. We'll stay in the same realm here. Jets season win totals at 5.5. I'll start. I think they're going over. I had them in the episode. Pat didn't participate, or no, it was Tony that didn't participate. Pat and I did the schedule release episode. I had them at 6 wins. I think they're getting over that 5.5 mark regardless. I don't see if they're below the 5.5 threshold. I think it's a pretty bad sign for this team, just based on around the offensive line, the defense as a whole, the coaching staff. I'd really be disappointed in the coaching staff. So I really do see them going over that 5.5 win threshold. We'll start with Tony here. I know you're anxious to get in there, Pat, but I know Tony's going to give me crap if I don't start with him at some point.
No. I'm going to go over as well. I think they're going to win 8 games, and I think they're going to comfortably pass 5.5. It's strange that it's that low, but I think that kind of plays into rookie head coach, inexperienced quarterback. We might have this team controls our lives from September to November, and they have a great offensive line. If Justin Fields works out, they're smashing that. So this is basically me betting on Aaron Glenn and Justin Fields, and I'm personally high on Aaron Glenn, and I think Justin Fields is a wild card. But if Angstrom builds an offense surrounded kind of revolving around him, which I think they will, I think they're going to beat it. Their run game is going to be awesome. Their defense should be improved, and I don't see them as a 5-win team. I see them as a 6 to 8 win team, probably 7 to 8. So I'm going to go over.
Pat.
Yeah, like you said, when we did the schedule thing, I had them at 7 and 10, but I have seen scenarios of 8 and 9, or even 9 and 8 to a degree. So going back to the 5.5, I love the over here because I expect them to win. If I'm going to break it down, right, I expect them to win at least 2 division games. I expect them to beat Miami, New England once. I think bare minimum, I'm hoping they win two division games, right? Then when you think about the favorable games in our heads, right? Like Carolina at home, Browns at home, on the road against the Saints, on the road against the Jags, maybe, right? Not saying those are all layups, but those are games I will be going into most likely expecting to win. So that's 6 right there, right? then there's just games that might not be like favorable, but like we can win, right? Like Pittsburgh week 1, like I think the line right now is 3. I like that a lot. I like home against the Falcons. I think the London game is a toss up. So I just threw like 9 games right there that like I think that they, again, I don't think they're gonna run the table on those 9, but do I think I think 5.5. I know I see why it's at 5.5 because when you look at the schedule, like it makes sense. But I, as a Jets fan, feel really comfortable about over 5.5 right now, and that's something I'm going to firmly place and feel pretty confident about it going into the season.
All right, so let's
and
start.
I might take it sooner because I do think if they look decent in the preseason, like if they look like if they continue this no BS mantra and things are cleaned up, like I could see it sneaking up to up
6.5
to 6.5. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because I do feel like, and maybe we're being biased. I don't think we are because we're pretty seasoned with this kind of stuff. Maybe not the betting, but at least the Jets. I think 5.5 seems pretty low for the situation that we're in. All right, so let's go to the players now. We'll break it down. Let's all 3 of us rip the 4 for Justin Fields. So it'll be over under on passing yards, over under on passing touchdowns, rushing yards, and total rushing touchdowns. Pat, you could break down the yardage as you go through it, but why don't you give us your 4?
So you want me to go all 4? Okay.
Yeah, go all 4.
Got it. All right. So I'm going over on passing yards. It sounds silly, but I do think it's going to be close.
What's the number? Make sure you give the number.
It's 2,450.5.
Okay.
So I know that sounds like super low. That's 144 yards per game. Like, if he's not hitting this over, it means 2 things. He didn't play 17 games, or they're just running the absolute shit out of the ball. Similar to like probably when he had 1,100 yards in 2022. And in that season, he passed for 2,200 yards, right? So I'm not saying he's going to hit 1,100 yards rushing again. That would be insane and probably awesome. But I do think he's going to be in like is it unreasonable to say, can he pass for 175 yards per game? I don't think so. Right? So if he does that, even if he plays 16 games, he's going to hit it. So, is 2,800 yards passing like a really unreasonable thing to ask for? I don't think so. So I'm going with the over on that one. Over under passing touchdowns, 14.5. I'm going over because both times he had a full season. Again, he just sniffed it, but he had 17 passing touchdowns in 2022, 16 in 2023. Again, I'm all in on Justin Fields this year because I think that he's finally in a situation where they're all in on him. He's got an offense that's hopefully catered to him. So I'm really taking all the overs on this. But rushing yards is 550.5. I mean, I'm hammering this if it stays in this range. They're going to run the absolute shit out of the ball. They're going to have design runs for him. If he plays all 17 games and doesn't rush for over 550 yards, then there's some serious schematic issues. And over under total rushing touchdowns is 5.5. He's only done that once, but I'm going to go with the over because last year he was on pace. He had 5 rushing touchdowns in the games he was a starter, which was 4 or 5 games or something like that, right? So he was well on pace to crush that. So that's where I'm at with Justin Fields. Obviously, I'm pretty high on him.
Tony, take it away. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah. I'm going to go under on passing yards, and that's just going to be because of the scheme that they're going to run. I think they are going to run the shit out of the ball. That's what we've been saying all off season. I don't know how big of a step he's going to take in terms of like how efficient he is as a passer, and our receiving core, definitely factors into this. I mean, Reynolds is our wide receiver too. We have a rookie tight end. You have Lazard. Obviously, the Garrett Wilson connection is going to be big, but I'm going to go under on that. And I just don't think he's going to be this electrifying passer. Passing touchdowns, 14.5. That I'm going to go over on. Like you said, I mean, he's gone over that every single year he's started. So I think, I mean, if he passes for 13 touchdowns or 14 touchdowns this year, that's going to be really disappointing. I think that that's going to be an over. Rushing yards, 550, hammering the over. I think he might run for like 800 to 900 yards this season. that one's like a no-brainer to me. That's my mega bet. 550 seems really, really low.
I agree.
So gonna hammer that one. And rushing touchdowns, I have a reasoning for this. I'm gonna go over on this. The Jets elected to vote against banning the tush push. And I think that's going to factor into some goal line scenarios. And I think I don't think Aaron Rodgers had a rushing touchdown last year. Correct me if I'm wrong. We did not do QB sneaks. There are no designed runs. Obviously, he's not the runner that Justin Fields is. Justin Fields is like a top 5 athlete that we've ever seen at the quarterback position, top 10, whatever. But for that tush push reason, I think that's going to be like our 1 to 2 yard goal line play. I think that we're going to see that in the playbook, and it's going to be really exciting. So I think he's going to go over on 5.5 for rushing touchdowns.
Love it. I agree with a lot of that stuff. For me, I'm going to go. He goes over that 2,450 yard mark. I don't think it's by a lot, though. I think it's by like 100 to 200 yards more than that. I don't foresee him throwing for a lot of yards this year. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Is it concerning that he's throwing for 100 that would average out to 140 yards a game? Could be, not necessarily though. Like to your point, Tony, they're going to be running this ball like crazy this season. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. So passing touchdowns, 14.5. I will go under here. I think they're going to be running the ball.
Under.
I think he's going to
be 14 then. I think
he's going to have 14 touchdowns. And I think he's going to have a crap ton of rushing touchdowns. And I think he's going to be. I think he's going to have honestly one hell of a rushing year. I think it could be one of the best that we've seen, at least for the Jets, obviously. Over under rushing yards, 550. I'm, again, hammering the over on this. I think this is really low. I think they're going to be utilizing him a ton. And then on the total rushing touchdowns, to go on with my theme, I'm going over. I think 5.5 is low. I think he'll finish, honestly, I could see double digits. I really could. I could see him hitting 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a hot take, but I think he clears some of those numbers, like especially the rushing yards and the rushing touchdowns. I think those are clearing. And great point with the tush push. They will be running that a lot down by the goal line. Just watch. I guarantee it.
Yeah, that's a good point with the rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he could easily get 3 there. Moving on to Breece Hall now. We're going to keep the same cadence. Actually, let's start with Tony here. Do Breece. We'll do the over on rushing yards and the over-under on rushing touchdowns.
Okay, so his over-under for rushing yards is 925.5. Would that be a career high for him if he were
994 in 2023?
So he's never been a 1,000-yard rusher. I think he's going to get a lot of looks in the passing game, and I think we're going to see a little bit of like a running back by committee. Braylon Allen and I'm blanking.
Isaiah Davis.
I mean, they're like pretty formidable. Like they showed some juice last year. You know, Braylon Allen started hot. He's more of that north-south runner. And with the Lions, I mean, we saw, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, they have 2 electric backs and they kind of split carries. So with that said, I think Breece Hall is going to be used a little bit more as like that third down passing game type running back, with Braylon Allen more in like the, we need 4 yards, go out and get it. So I'm going to go under here. I think he's going to be in like I think Breece is going to be in like the 850 to 875 range this year. Oddly specific, but I'm going to go under on that. Touchdowns, 5.5. That I'm going to go over on. The offensive line is just so improved. I think he's going to get like 7 touchdowns this year in the ground game, and a few more in the passing game. So I'm going to go the over on rushing touchdowns for Breece Hall.
I want to go here. I think I have this might be a hot take. I think he goes under on both. And my reasoning behind that is I agree with you about the running back by committee, the Fields and the rush game. I also just don't think that he's going to regain the step that he had early on in his career. Could be wrong about that. That is just, again, a gut feeling. So I think he has somewhere like 4 touchdowns. I think he has around 800 yards. I think they're going to really utilize Isaiah Davis. They're going to utilize Braylon Allen near the goal line and Justin Fields, which is going to take away a lot of Breece Hall touchdowns. I would not be surprised to see more Justin Fields goal line touchdowns than Breece Hall. Pat, go ahead.
I'm just backing into the math a little bit here. This is why I think he's going to go over. they're going to be a really run-heavy team, right? They're going to be hopefully similar, even if they go with the committee similar to Detroit, right? Maybe this has a little bit to do with injury, but Jahmyr Gibbs had 250 rushing attempts last year, right? Would you, like, in a yes or no question, would you expect Breece Hall this year to be top 15 in rushing attempts in the NFL?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably would say.
Let's go with that first, right? So top 15. The 15th player was 235 attempts. The number one was 345 attempts. And I'm just talking strictly rushing attempts, right? Breece Hall's most rushing attempts that he's ever had in a season was 223. So is it reasonable to say, I'm going to say conservatively, that he gets 250 rushing attempts?
Probably, yeah.
I would think so, right? So based on that, now he averaged 4.5 yards a carry in 2023. He averaged 4 even in last year, which we all knew. Like, you know, I'll be the first to tell you if anybody heard our podcast how much I hated Breece Hall, right? And he averaged 4.2 yards carry last year. So let's just say he averages 4.4, 4.3. Even, you know, I'm hoping he goes better and he goes back to himself. But 250 times 4.4 is 1,100 yards, right? So I think he's going to hit this over. I don't want to say comfortably, but I think he's going to. I think he's going to get the ball enough to where he does. It sounds simple, but like, even last year they were this pass-heavy team, right? And he had how many yards rushing did he have last year? Hit 876 when Rodgers was just hucking the fucking ball up all over the place, right? So
that's our one swear word, by the way.
Yeah. So I think he comfortably hits that.
All right.
Over under rushing touchdowns, it's weird because you would think you'd just be like 5.5, yeah, right? But he's never had over 5 rushing touchdowns in a season. He's had 4, 5, and 5. So I'm gonna say he hits. It's tough. I really think he's gonna have more like receiving touchdowns, like to your guys' point. So you know, I can't just go over on everything for the Jets offensively. That would just be crazy. So I think I wouldn't probably touch this one, but if I had to touch it, I'd probably pick the under because I think he's going to have 5. But I think he's going to have like 5 or 6 receiving touchdowns. I think he's just going to have 5. I think he's just going to have 5 rushing touchdowns.
That was good. I don't know why.
That was good.
You got to back into the math a little bit, right?
So, love it. Listen, you're a mathematic.
Not a mathematician, but
we saw a little bit of everything there. You went with the math. I went with the Pat mindset of let's bet the under and let's hope Breece Hall has 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns. I don't, you win either way. I love that mentality. Let's switch it to the air game. I'm going to start here. Garrett Wilson, over under on receiving yards. It's at 925.5. I think it has to go over. There's no other option. He's going to be the guy that they are feeding the rock to in the air. I just don't see how he 3 1,000-yard receiving yard seasons to start his career. I think he continues that trend. Hopefully he gets up into the 1,100, 1,200 range. That would be amazing. I just think that he's going to be his number 1 option. I think that number 2 option will be something like Mason Taylor, maybe a Breece Hall. But they are going to be looking to get Garrett Wilson the football, and they're going to get him that ball a lot. Over under on receiving touchdowns, 4.5. I think with that being said, I think that's probably going to be over because he should have more touchdowns than any other receiver on this team by a good margin. And if not, maybe something wrong. So I think I'm going to smack.
Justin Fields only got 14 touchdowns.
Correct. So Garrett will have half of those. Duh. Yeah. Pat, go ahead.
I'm going to say I'm a little skeptical about this one because I just don't know how that much they're going to throw the ball. But I'm going to lean with the over on the receiving yards because he's proven to us in the past that with mediocre quarterback play, he still gets it done. So, and I really want him to get 1,000 yards. Like, if I'm rooting for anything like statistically this season, aside from a win-loss standpoint, I really want him to just be like that. Not Mike Evans yet, but like I just want him to continue that 1,000-yard. So I'll emotionally root for that too. So I'm going to say he does hit the over, and I think he gets over 1,000 yards. receiving touchdowns is weird. Again, he hasn't had a lot of receiving touchdowns.
He's going to get 4.
And I think he's going to get like 4 or 5. That's why it's set. That's why it's set there. And the reason I think I'm going to go with the under again is because I think that a lot of their touchdowns that they do get are going to come from the red zone. And it's going to be where they're rushing it or they're throwing it to Mason Taylor or they're doing, they're just going to be really closer plays where I just don't see Garrett getting the big touchdown plays a lot. I see him getting I see him being a moving the chains receiver for them and being their number one target and stuff. Maybe a bomb here and there. But again, if they have those drawn up bombs, it's probably going to go to fucking Arian Smith, right? So we said fuck too many times, haven't we?
That's your third time. We're good.
Sorry. But yeah, I can't just. It would be naive to, as a Jets fan for as long as we've been, to just go over on all the offensive stuff, right? Like, you just can't do that. So I'll say over on the receiving yards, under on the receiving touchdowns, but I do think it's going to be like he's going to have like 5, 4, anywhere between 4 and 6. Like,
Tony, wrap us up with the Jets props here.
Okay, I'm going to go with my gut here, and I think his 1,000-yard, I think he's going to get a ton of looks. I'm going to go under. I'm going to go under on passing.
Do you really feel that way, though?
Yeah, I do. I feel it coming. I feel like the streak's going to get snapped. I don't think he's going to go for 1,000 yards. I went under on Justin Fields' passing yards, so I'm going to go under on Garrett Wilson receiving yards. Do I think he's going to be the focal point of the offense? Yes, but he's going to be the focal point of the offense. Like, he's going to have the best cornerback on him at all times, unless they use motion like any offensive coordinator with a brain would do to get him better matchups. But for the most part, he's going to have, he might be double teamed at times too. Make Josh Reynolds beat you, right? I mean, he's going to be what defensive coordinators are planning for. For the first time, I feel like, last year we had Devontae Adams and, it was a little bit of a better receiving core. This year it's Garrett and borderline scraps. So I think teams are going to make us beat them with Josh Reynolds, Mason Taylor, Allen Lazard, all those friggin' guys. So I'm going to go under, and I think he gets 5 touchdowns. I do think he's going to get 5 or 6 touchdowns. So I'm going to go over on receiving touchdowns. I think it's going to be a weird year for Garrett. He's not going to get 1,000, but he's going to get a few more touchdowns, which is not – he's usually receiving yards and not a lot of touchdowns. I'm predicting a weird year for him. So those are my bets, man. If it's weird, it's going to be a weird Jets season. That's what my gut's telling me.
What we should do for fun is all of us after this go in and put in all these futures and see who ends up the best.
Yeah, we keep our track of them.
Keep our track, man.
Absolutely.
We'll keep
have our records.
Yeah.
Like Pat mentioned in the beginning of the episode, we are going to sprinkle in variation. I think today we'll end it with a fun one, NFL MVP. Pat, your idea, so why don't you take it away?
If I'm placing, again, you could bet on how many ever you want for MVP, right? This isn't like a one or the other kind of thing. I like 2. I like Joe Burrow a lot this year. He was my pick last year to win MVP. And I think what he did last year was still incredible. Even, when you really look back at it, right? They were scoring like 35 points a game and losing, and he was just hucking up touchdowns. And I think he's just got this vengeance tour coming because, in a way, like the Bengals have kind of been under the limelight the past couple of years because they didn't, ever since their Super Bowl year, they haven't been where they feel they need to be for whatever amount of reason, for whatever reason. But I think it's going to be like a year where Joe Burrow really kind of stakes his claim again as like, I'm a top 2 to 3 quarterback in this league. So I'm betting on him. He's at plus, he's anywhere between, like right now, most sites have him at plus 600, and he's 3rd behind Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. So I like that one. And then some like dart throws here. Like Saquon is, I'm looking right now. Saquon is plus, he's the first non-quarterback, and he's like plus 5,000.
Yeah, he's plus 5,000.
Again, I don't know. He's on the Madden cover. He probably had his best possible year last year. And, it's really tough for a non-quarterback to win MVP. But if I'm going to pick anybody, it would be him. So I would place money on Saquon. I'd put a couple bucks there. And then maybe one other small dart throw that I would do. I'm looking right now, like at the quarterbacks, right? Like Jaden Daniels, maybe. Caleb Williams is interesting. I'm not, because like he's going to be in a new offense and that year 1 to 2 year leap. Look, he was a generational prospect coming out, and he's with Ben Johnson now. And he's got weapons. If you're trying to throw a dart throw out there, plus 30.
Gun to your head. Who's the MVP next year?
Joe Burrow.
Okay. There you go.
Well, no, gun to my head, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, there you go. So,
gun to my head, Lamar Jackson. But again, if you want to go against the grain a little bit, yeah, I think everyone's going to take Lamar Jackson.
The odds are it's plus 500 to plus 600.
Yeah, I mean, I'm placing money on Lamar Jackson regardless, right?
Yeah, but, fair enough.
But trying to be a little bit different, yeah, I'm taking Joe Burrow.
Right. Tony, you want to go next? You can go next.
Yeah, I think gun to my head, it's going to be Lamar. I will definitely be putting money on that. But my secondary guy it's Jaden Daniels. I think that's my pick, man. They got Debo. He's going into his second year. Cliff Kingsbury's still there. I think he's awesome. And, if he leads them, back deep into the playoffs, I mean, that's a guy that I kind of see not having a sophomore slump like CJ Stroud did, for example, who's also up there. I think that's like my non-Lamar. And then my wild card, this is going to sound wild. No. Justin Fields. No, I'm kidding. Jordan Love at plus 3,100. I like it. I could see him throwing for like 40 touchdowns and the Packers going off the season. So that would be kind of my weird one, I feel like.
Gotcha.
I think with Daniels, you hit the nail on the head, though, a little bit, that he's got Cliff Kingsbury coming back.
And that's huge.
That's huge. Especially year 1 to year 2 and what he did last year and another year into the system. You would expect Cliff Kingsbury to have gotten a head coaching job or something, right, for what he did last year.
He didn't want one.
I mean, I don't want to say who could blame him, but
you could blame him for now head coaching game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to differ from you guys a little bit. I think it's parity. I think Mahomes wins MVP next year, just based on him having a down year last year statistically. I think he could come back and say F you, have a crazy season. I have two more picks. This is not going to be popular. I think Dak could win MVP at plus 4,000. CD and George Pickens. That's a good 1-2 punch, and
they're going to be throwing the shit out of the ball too because they don't have a running back.
Exactly, and you want to talk about just something that would be so poetic justice for that fan base is him winning MVP, them going into the playoffs riding high, and then just getting knocked out right away. So yeah. I could see that. If I were to throw just stupid little money, I would just dabble very small in Travis Hunter. I mean, you never know that.
Oh my God!
On what premise though? Like, I'd rather bet on him winning Rookie of the Year. Like what? Like you're saying because he plays both sides of the ball, or
well, I'm gonna get there. He plays both sides of the ball, and this is I put very little money on it, and I think he's like plus
20,000,
plus 20,000, is because that team is so damn bad. He could legitimately, if he lives up to the prospect that he is, be playing like crazy on both sides of the ball. We probably haven't seen, Rookie of the Year and MVP. I can't name the last time that happened, but who knows? I mean, someone like that, some guy who comes in, plays both sides of the ball like that, I'd put $5-10 on it. Why not?
Justin Fields is plus 20,000, not for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay. I mean, it is funny to see some of the guys in between there too, like Bryce Young's higher, Rodgers is higher.
It's going to be Allen, Jackson, Burrow, or Mahomes.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. Those four are probably your front runners, and these other ones are just fun to talk about. But hey, you never know. That's why we play the game. So, any closing thoughts here for the first episode of Sunday Money, which is debuting on our friends from Badlands feed?
Really, thanks to Badlands for letting us do this, and really looking forward to doing this. And this is going to be really fun. Just like the Jets episodes when the season picks up, obviously, but this is going to be really fun, a week to week basis. Really more so we can compare our successes against each other, and hopefully get some fan engagement and see. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Nothing.
Cha-ching, brother.
Yeah, cha-ching. I hope you guys like that opening animation made by
The
yours truly.
graphics, the cool.
One way or the other, you guys are going to make money, right? Fade us or ride us.
Absolutely. And since this is our last show for the foreseeable future of Badlands, go follow us on Twitter at MYJ_VulturesRow. We're on Twitter, TikTok, Spotify, Apple, anywhere you can find us, we're there. We appreciate you guys listening, and we'll talk to you next time.